I don't cry easily over books. Movies? Sometimes. Real life? Absolutely. But books? A book has to earn my tears. It has to make me care so deeply about the people on the pages that I forget that they're fictional. These books that I'm sharing today did exactly that. Not because they were sad, some of them were, but because they were emotionally overwhelming. There were moments where I had to close the cover, walk away, make a cup of tea, and come back when I was ready. These are those books.
Slow, turn the page, find your peace in this space, honey and prose. Welcome home.
Hey Book Nook crew, welcome back to Honey and Prose, where we talk about stories, softness, and the emotional experience of reading. Today, we're talking about the books that I literally had to put down because I was too emotional to keep reading. Not because they were bad, but because they completely overwhelmed me. If you have ever had to stop reading just to catch your breath, I think that you'll understand this list. Let's get into it. The first book is The Attic Child by Lola Jaye. This novel tells two stories that unfold across generations. One follows Dikembe, a young Congolese boy taken from his home and forced into servitude in Victorian England. The other follows Laura, a young woman in present-day London searching for answers about her identity and her family's past. The two stories are connected in a way that slowly unfolds throughout the novel. I knew I had to put this book down when I realized I wasn't just reading about these characters anymore. I was grieving with them. Lola Jaye writes with so much compassion on every page that it feels personal. There were moments when I simply closed the book and sat in silence because I needed time to process everything that I had just read. If you love historical fiction that explores identity, belonging, and healing across generations, I cannot recommend this one enough. Some stories don't just tell history, they help us to carry it. The next book is Homegoing by Yagiasi. This novel begins with two half-sisters in 18th century Ghana whose lives take completely different paths. One remains in West Africa, while the other is sold into slavery. From there, the story follows their descendants over generations, showing how history, trauma, resilience, and hope ripple through families across the centuries. I had to put this one down several times. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, but every chapter gave me something new to think about. Every generation carried both pain and strength. And I found myself reflecting on just how deeply history shapes the lives that we live today. This isn't a book to rush. This is one to experience. Some families pass down recipes. Others pass down survival. The next is The Great Alone by Chris and Hannah. This one is set in the Alaskan wilderness during the 1970s. This novel follows a family hoping a fresh start would heal old wounds. Instead, the isolation forces them to confront love, fear, abuse, and survival in ways none of them expected. This book caught me completely off guard. I thought I was reading a story about Alaska. I ended up reading a story about resilience. And that seems to be my key word, resilience. Watching this family struggle to hold themselves together was emotionally exhausting in the best possible way. I definitely needed more than one break while reading this. First, because of the size of it, but sometimes survival isn't about the wilderness. It is about making it through another day. Next is The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. This novel follows Lucy and Gabe, who meet on a day that changes both of their lives forever. Over the years, their relationship is shaped by timing, ambition, distance, and difficult choices that come with growing into adulthood. This book had me asking myself question after question. What would I choose? Would I make the same decision? Could love survive everything life asks of us? That's why I had to put it down. Not because I knew what was coming, but because I needed to think about what I'd already read. Sometimes the greatest love stories leave us with questions instead of answers. If you are enjoying this conversation, go ahead and hit subscribe, because if there's one thing that we do around here, it is talk about books that stay with us long after we turn the last page. Now, let's keep going. The next book is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. This is the story of Yasmin and Josiah, a divorced couple who continue to co-parent and run a successful business together. And they navigate the complicated emotions that remain after the end of a marriage. It is a novel about grief, healing, and forgiveness, and the possibility of finding your way back to one another. Kennedy Ryan has a gift for writing characters who feel incredibly real. Nothing about their journey felt forced. Every difficult conversation, every moment of vulnerability, every step toward healing, it felt earned. I wasn't emotional because the story was dramatic. I was emotional because it was honest. Healing rarely happens all at once. Sometimes it looks like choosing each other one day at a time. The next book is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Dubois by Honoree Fanonne Jeffers. This novel follows Ailey Pearl Garfield as she uncovers generations of her family's history while trying to understand herself, her heritage, and the legacy that she's inherited. It is part coming of age story, part family saga, part meditation on Black history and identity. This isn't a book that you speed through, first of all. It's one that you live in. I found myself slowing down, highlighting passages, reading certain pages twice, because I didn't want to miss anything. Emotionally, this book asks a lot of its readers, and I am grateful that it does. Knowing where we come from changes how we understand where we're going. Next is A Woman is No Man by Etaf Rum. Hope I'm saying that correctly. This novel follows 3 generations of Palestinian American women as they navigate family expectations, cultural traditions, silence, and the search for their own voices. It's a powerful story about the things that families pass down, both intentionally and unintentionally. What overwhelmed me the most was the compassion that this book demanded. It reminded me that every family has stories that we never fully understand, and that empathy often begins when we listen. This is one of those novels that stayed with me long after I finished it. Sometimes understanding someone else's silence is the beginning of compassion. The final book is Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. This one is inspired by the author's own family history, and it follows Betty Carpenter, a young girl that is growing up in rural, hard for me to say, Ohio, as she navigates poverty, prejudice, family trauma, and the enduring power of hope. It is a coming-of-age story that's both heartbreaking and beautifully written. This book, again, emotionally exhausted me in the best way. There were chapters where I simply couldn't move forward until I had processed everything that had happened. And that's rare because those are the books I remember forever. The books that ask the most of us often give us the most in return. Looking at this stack, I realized something. None of these books made this list because they were easy. They made this list because they made me feel. They interrupted my reading. They slowed me down. And they reminded me that stories have the power to change us if we let them. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to put a book down because it overwhelmed you emotionally? Tell me the title in the comments. I want to get some recommendations that I can turn around and blame you all for later because they're my favorite reads. And I want these books to be unforgettable and for me to be happy that I put them on my shelf. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Book Nook crew. Until next time, drink something warm, pick up something good, and I will see you in the next chapter.
Sweet like honey, let it flow.